favorite scary movie.
Flatliners.
In the early 90s, we got a lot of horror movies from a lot of directors with heavy visual styles. Adrian Lyne, like I talked about yesterday, but today I'm going to be talking about one of his contemporaries, Joel Schumacher. Now, was no stranger to horror by the time that he made Flatliners in 1990. He had made The Lost Boys a few years before this. But this has nothing to do with vampires, and this is a different kind of horror. It tells the story of a group of medical students who come up with a bright idea of killing themselves, but only for a minute, with the idea being that if you are technically dead, you can see what is on the other side. The quintet of students are played by Kiefer Sutherland, Kevin Bacon, Julia Roberts, Oliver Platt, and I assume the best Baldwin, William Baldwin. And each of these characters have their own reasons for wanting to do this. It's Sutherland's character's idea, and he basically ropes everyone else in there. But as soon as they start killing themselves, they soon find that something else comes back when they come back to life. And so it's up to them to find out what that something is and why it's more personal than they pretty much realize. This movie does take a bit to get going. It's all a bit of a hassle of, okay, we need to get these med students involved in this somehow, and we don't know how. It's when the actual meat of the matter, the whole procedures begin happening, and the visions that they see afterwards, that's when the rubber hits the road. About halfway through the movie, I was really into it. It took a second, but once the movie hits the ground running, it is really impressive. The movie works because what happens to these characters is personal to them, and it is up to them to figure out their trauma and work their way through it in ways that only they know how to do. For example, Kevin Bacon's character bullied a little girl that was younger than him when he was going to elementary school. That trauma comes back to haunt him when he comes back from the dead, and he resolves it to himself that he's going to track down the girl and make it right. The girl is now a woman, she has a daughter of her own, and she doesn't really remember all that happened, but the two actually find forgiveness and they bury the hatchet. It's a genuinely nice moment, and it's one of those moments I said to myself, Schumacher gets crapped on a lot for Batman and Robin and the ice puns and all of that.
You are not sending me to the cooler.
But when Schumacher got down to it, he could direct something as touching as that. And so you look at a scene like that and you go, Schumacher was really good when he was really good. For Sutherland, though, even though his character started out pretty unlikable for me, it became the best part of the movie by a significant margin. I won't spoil it because it is near the climax of the movie and I won't go any further than that. But let's just say, when you realize why Sutherland's character wants to do these things, starts out from going pretty unlikable to by the end going, okay, I can kind of see what you're trying to do here. I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, the premise of this movie is honestly pretty ridiculous, but it's about as it's grounded in a reality that we can understand. It's a Schumacher reality, it's enhanced. The med school they all attend kind of looks like an old art museum. Strange choice, but there you go. But in terms of how ludicrous the premise is, Schumacher makes it work in as tangible a reality as he could have probably done. Also, the beginning and the ending connect so well that it just is borderline perfect. I'm going to give this an amazing grade. I was going to maybe knock it down to great because the movie does take a little bit to get going, but specifically the character arcs of Kevin Bacon, Kiefer Sutherland, and Julia Roberts, all of which were stellar. So do yourself a favor and check out this movie for those three characters alone. I hear there's a remake of the movie, which nobody liked and was terrible from all regards. If I ever do a remake version of ScaryMania, I know I'm going to have to cover that, so pray for me there.